to record with the holidays and everything and law school finals. It's just been busy. And man, has the sports world been busy as well. I'm really excited to get down here and talk because just in the last week there has been a ton go on that all could serve as the main episode of an hour long podcast in and of themselves, and they probably have been over the last week or so, but you're getting your coverage here, so we're going to give you the best of it all. And we're going to start off with something that just happened 2 days ago. Monday Night Raw made history as it premiered its first episode live from Netflix. Raw and WWE have signed a 10-year deal with Netflix for an insane amount of money. I believe it's like close to $1 billion, if not more so. But historic milestone for them. They have been all hands on deck with this Raw on Netflix show. They pretty much made it a pay-per-view caliber event. They had appearances from The Rock, John Cena, Hulk Hogan, Roman Reigns, like major matches, major appearances. And at the end of it all, I couldn't help but feel disappointed by the show that we got on Raw, mostly because of what we didn't get. There's nothing on the show that I thought was bad. I just didn't think it was as entertaining and as good as it could have been. So to walk through what happened on the show, it kicked off with an awesome video package detailing the history of not just WWE, but professional wrestling as a whole. They took it back to the carnival days. They showed clips of Gorgeous George and Buddy Rogers and Bruno Sammartino all the way up to the present. And then it cut to the ring where there had been a projector with a bunch of screens around it. All those little things collapse, and you see Triple H standing in the ring. And I should mention too that awesome video package I was talking about ended with a painting of a wrestling canvas that had the faces of all of the biggest stars from WWE over the years. So when it faded in, you could see Hulk Hogan, Steve Austin, The Undertaker, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, like everybody was on it. Just a really cool piece of art. I'm sure that would go for a ton on the collector's market. But Triple H kicked open the show with a pretty basic promo, just talking about how we're in a new era, we're the Netflix era. And one thing I will notice, especially with WWE, but I think other sports leagues have started to get on this trend too, is there's been a trend of trying to name your own era. So usually, at least the way I've always figured it works, is we'll stick with the wrestling for now, but they'll do their thing, and when fans look back and they'll talk about the past, they'll give it a name. And so, if you're living in 1985 and somebody asks, like, "Oh, what's wrestling like these days?" You'll probably say, "Oh, Hulk Hogan's on top, Cyndi Lauper, Roddy Piper, whatever." But looking back, like 10, 15 years down the road, oh, you can look back and say that was the rock and wrestling era, or oh, that was the Attitude Era. Now that might have been different just because Attitude was all over the branding at the time. But I don't know if people at that time thought to refer to this as, oh, we're in the Attitude Era. And then the day after WrestleMania 17, well, the Attitude Era is over. So I don't know, eras and their names just felt more organic. With WWE, ever since 2016, they got on this kick that, oh, it's going to be a new era this, a new era that, and the new era has begun. And so if you go to like the history of WWE Google page, there's this weird like 2016 to 2018 blurb that's like, it goes the PG era, the reality era, the new era, and then whatever comes next. And it's like, that wasn't really a new era. That was just a corporate attempt to manufacture a new era. And Triple H on Raw Monday just kept saying this is the Netflix era of Raw. And I don't know. I just didn't like it. It seemed disingenuous and too like corporate, trying to create and manufacture something to make it feel fresh when really it's the same show it was on USA Network. And if you think about like the Netflix era of Raw, this show they signed a 10-year contract with Netflix, and so you can't really base an era all around who's distributing your product. The era should be based on the actual content you're providing, and whether or not the era has shifted to a new one should correlate with some big change in the content that you're putting out, not who's distributing your content. So I just thought that was silly in an attempt to make things seem more monumental than they are. I mean, yes, the switch to Netflix and streaming is a lot bigger than like 2002 or whenever it was when WWE switched Raw from TNN to Spike. But still, I don't think that they should have went all in on the weird Netflix era of Raw thing. But that's all I have to say really about the Triple H speech. It was short. It was to the point. We could have done without it, but I can't blame him for trotting out the big Raw, like big boss to, hype up the intro. And I guess that's also because I'm coming at it from the standpoint of somebody who regularly follows wrestling. If you're a Netflix subscriber, and you don't really know much about wrestling, but oh, Netflix is live streaming something. They don't do that often. Let me tune in. Then I guess it's good to send out your whatever corporate title Triple H has these days to introduce the show. But where I thought the show suffered the most was when Triple H turned over the floor to his corporate partner and member of the board of directors, Dwayne Johnson. And I say Dwayne Johnson strategically because what we saw tonight, they promoted that The Rock was going to be on the show. We did not get The Rock. We got Dwayne Johnson, which is a shame because he walked out looking like the final boss. He walked out with his People's Championship on his shoulder, his $500 vest. He looked like the last time we saw him, which was a Bad Blood. He walked out after Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns won their tag team match, and he saw them parted up in the ring. He walked out, belt on his shoulder, cocked the people's eyebrow, and walked in the back. And it was like, oh, The Rock clearly has some thoughts on this union. What's he going to do about it? And then we haven't seen The Rock since. That was like 5 months ago. And so they've been promoting the heck out of The Rock is going to be on the show. And also on the show, Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for tribal combat to see who the real head of the table is. And it's like, oh, is The Rock going to factor into this somehow? And all of that, or, oh, is The Rock going to do something to Cody Rhodes and maybe set up a WrestleMania program? The Rock did nothing. In fact, The Rock was a net negative as far as WrestleMania planning goes because he came out there and the two main programs that people have been pitching for The Rock at WrestleMania are either a match with Cody Rhodes and a match with Roman Reigns. Because I mean, as The Rock said in his promo on Raw Monday, him and Cody Rhodes, the last we heard The Rock talk, he was wanting Cody Rhodes to let him hold the WWE Championship. And he was strongly implying, if he may have even said, he wanted that one day. So I was like, oh, we might see Rock versus Cody for the WWE title. And before Cody Rhodes ruined The Rock's plans, he had planned to come back last WrestleMania to wrestle Roman Reigns for, head of the table supremacy. And so the thought was, especially since this whole Bloodline Civil War story has been going on for the last year, basically at this point, that The Rock would come in and have something to do with that story in a way where he ends up fighting Roman Reigns. Instead, he comes out and he's all buddy buddy with Cody Rhodes. He gave him a hug. He's talking about what a great job he's done to run the company over the last year. And then he ends up, at the end of his speech, he says, and we got a big show planned tonight. My cousin Roman Reigns is fighting Solo Sikoa to see who the real tribal chief is. I'm going to be watching that with great interest. So I was like, okay, he's being oddly buddy up with Cody, but maybe there can be something here with the tribal chief combat. And I was really surprised when the next match up was the Tribal Chief match. It was Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa. I figured that would be the opener, or CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. And I was kind of hoping, since The Rock kicked off the show, that it would end the show, because I didn't figure they'd have The Rock just stick around and do all the stuff in the first half of the show. That's actually exactly what they did. Anyways, so Solo and Roman had their match. It was fine, nothing special. There was a really cool table spot where Roman powerbombed Solo through a table. A lot of interference, as always, in these bloodline matches. We saw the Tongans, Jacob Fatu, Sami Zayn, not Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Kevin Owens, Cody Rhodes, like everybody and their mama was getting involved in this match. Unfortunately, we didn't see Mama Rhodes come out, but The Rock did shatter out in his promo. But Roman Reigns ends up winning the match, and as was discussed on SmackDown Friday, Paul Heyman was gonna, anoint the winner of the match as the tribal chief by placing the Ulafala necklace on them, which designates you as a tribal chief apparently. And so Roman wins. Paul Heyman is about to put the necklace on him when The Rock walks out. And this is where, you start forecasting and dreaming ahead to WrestleMania. Like, oh, is this where The Rock is going to come and object? And is he going to take the Ulafala for himself? Or is Paul Heyman going to swerve Roman Reigns and give The Rock the Ulafala? Or there's so many different ways it could have gone. Instead, The Rock walks in. He takes the Ulafala from Paul Heyman and he puts it around the neck of Roman Reigns. And then Roman and The Rock hug, or they shake hands. It's like, okay, is he going to rock bottom The Rock? Or is he going to rock bottom Roman Reigns? It's like, no, he's not. They shake hands, they hug, and Roman poses. It's like, is he going to hit him from behind while he's posing? Nope. The Rock just stayed in the corner. He clapped, and he walked out of the ring with Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman. Not only that, he was even sweet enough to hold the ropes down for Roman so he could get out of the ring easier. And so in like 45 minutes, The Rock's two primary matches, if he is going to wrestle at WrestleMania, just got neutered. I mean, they can still do them if they want, but it just is a lot harder now because it seems like they went out of their way to crush any interest in those matches, which makes me think that The Rock won't be wrestling at WrestleMania this year. But to me, even if The Rock's not wrestling at WrestleMania, that doesn't mean you have to nip all the stories that he had created over the last year in the bud. You can just put them off until next year. If The Rock's not going to be at WrestleMania, don't bring him in on Raw. And the last we saw was at Bad Blood, and he was feeling some type of way about Cody and Roman being together. He didn't have to be on Netflix Raw, so why bring him in? I'm sure Netflix wanted him in because The Rock boosts a rating. But if you're going to do it, if you're going to bring in The Rock, then let him actually contribute something. And if he's not going to contribute something, then, I don't know, don't use him to pop a rating. I'm sorry, but it's sad that as hot as WWE is right now, they have to still trot out people like The Rock to pop a rating on Netflix. So, I don't know. If I were running things, which I'm not, but I wouldn't have had The Rock go out of his way to buddy up with Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. I mean, even if he's not going to wrestle at WrestleMania, he still could have thrown some shade their way, done something to show that he's still got a dog in this race, and that one of these days The Rock's going to come back and have something to say or have something to do about Cody Rhodes and or Roman Reigns. But instead, they had Cody and The Rock hug twice. Cody and The Rock were laughing and smiling and cutting up with each other. And it just, obviously it's all scripted, but in the show itself, it's nice to be able to immerse yourself in it and not think about, yeah, they're all real friends behind the scene, but to go from, like, if they were to still try to do Roman and Cody in 2 months or 3 months at WrestleMania, it would just lose a lot of steam in my mind because we just saw them cutting up together on Raw. So I don't think The Rock's going to wrestle. And if he is wrestling at WrestleMania this year, then his appearances on Monday were a major blunder by WWE. Not major, but I mean, it's just frustrating when they make creative decisions that actively are detrimental to their potential booking outcomes when they didn't have to. It's like an unforced error. You could have just not had The Rock say anything regarding Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. But that's pretty much all I have to say about The Rock. John Cena was also on the show, and he just did a promo. It was only about 7 minutes, maybe, just talking about the kickoff to his retirement tour and that he's setting his sights on the Royal Rumble to win number 17. And I was pretty much going back and forth before this on whether he would win number 17 this year. To me, it seems like the logical thing for him to do. It's like Chekhov's gun. You don't have John Cena tied with Ric Flair for the most world title wins ever and not have him break the record in a predetermined sport. That's just a waste of a good moment. And at the same time, though, right now, the two world champions that John Cena could beat to break that record are Cody Rhodes and Gunther. And I just don't see, at least I couldn't picture Cody Rhodes losing to John Cena. And John Cena and Gunther is just a story I'm not interested in seeing. If John Cena does get number 17, I want it to be with the WWE title that he's held like 13 times over his career at this point, and not some world heavyweight title that was just created a year and a half ago. But the way he came out here and focused his promo on number 17 makes me think that he's definitely going to get a world title win at some point this year. Which begs the question, when's it going to be? And I hope it's at WrestleMania because that just makes the most sense to me. I've seen other people online saying that they want John Cena's whole story this last year to be about him chasing number 17. John Cena hasn't won a match since 2019, I believe, or at least over 2,000 days. He said it on Raw. And so they think that John Cena should struggle to win and end up having to win the Royal Rumble, go to WrestleMania, lose a championship match, go to Elimination Chamber, lose that, go win Money in the Bank, cash in ahead of time, basically just constantly chase the title all year, and then finally he does win. It's a big feel good moment, and so on. To me, that's not interesting because if John Cena is going to have a 17th world title reign, then I want it to be a substantial reign. I don't want him to win the title at SummerSlam in August and then lose it a month later or 2 months later because he's already said this is it. This is his last year. So he's going to retire in December. So I don't know if he's going to go on to have one last run, then give him one last run. Let him win the championship at WrestleMania and hold it to at least SummerSlam. And I think there's an easy way to do it. Have him win the Royal Rumble. Have him challenge Cody Rhodes for the WWE title. And have him beat Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. And instead of the story focusing on John Cena, have it focus on Cody Rhodes. John Cena has been booked like a chump for the last 6 years. And I appreciate John Cena not throwing his weight around and dictating booking decisions all on his own. But I do wish he was more of the Stone Cold Steve Austin vein and more protective of his character because there's no reason he should have been losing to Austin Theory or anybody like that. I'm trying to think of other people that have beat him over the last little bit, but Austin Theory in and of itself, that's not somebody that you job John Cena out to. And so I think the story could be that John Cena gets in tip-top shape in the lead up to WrestleMania. He's, you know, been a part-timer. Now he's back fully and he's on his grind and he's ready to, you know, be that old John Cena. He's still got that dog in him, whatever. And John Cena on his A game is too much for Cody Rhodes to handle because he's got 25 years, no, 23 years of experience at this point. And as good as Cody Rhodes is, he's trying to be the next John Cena, face of the company, all that. He still can't get it over on the old dog. And that eats at Cody Rhodes. He's like, as far as I've come, as good as I am, I'm still not good enough to put down the old guard. And so you have a story where Cody Rhodes struggles within himself on how have I gotten this far, but I'm still coming up just this much short. Like, what can I do to beat the GOAT? Because that's what they call John Cena when he's back on the show. He's the GOAT. And so it can be like a Brady Mahomes situation. And imagine in a world where the NFL is predetermined, the Buccaneers whoop up on the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and that's great for Tom Brady. But if you're the NFL, what does that do for me when Tom Brady retires? The NFL, they're still trying to build up Patrick Mahomes as the GOAT because they always want the GOAT to be actively playing. You're never going to hear a sports league say, yeah, things used to be good, but now all these players, they kind of suck. They're mid. So they're always trying to be like, yeah, new, better, faster, stronger, all that stuff. And so WWE has a shot to do that. And you could have, a nice little couple months of Cody Rhodes working to, be more crafty in his game, fighting other old Wily vets like, I don't know, somebody. I'm sure they're on the roster somewhere. And then have him beat Cena at SummerSlam or later on into the year. And there you go. It's a nice little story. And instead of focusing on John Cena the whole time, it also gives Cody Rhodes some character development. So that's what I would want to see as far as John Cena's retirement tour. And John Cena did shout out some potential opponents, and Cody Rhodes was on that list. So fingers crossed we get Cena Cody at WrestleMania for the title. And as a selfish Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, though, I would be sad if Cena won the Royal Rumble just because that would also have him tie Stone Cold's record of winning 3, but small price to pay. And as a caveat, too, on the whole, Cena will break Ric Flair's record for most world title reigns. Ric Flair is recognized by WWE as having 16 world titles, but he actually has far more than that because there are a lot of title changes from the NWA, WCW days that aren't recognized. I think Ric Flair counts himself as being a 21-time world champion. And so take with that what you will. I mean, it's fake accomplishments, but even the fake accomplishments are also being faked by WWE. Aside from that, really the only other things to talk about from Raw on Netflix is CM Punk beat Seth Rollins clean. They were supposed to wrestle at WrestleMania 40, but CM Punk tore his triceps in last year's Royal Rumble, and that led to him having a nice feud with Drew McIntyre instead, which is a great example of WWE being a lot more willing to go with the flow creatively these days. But now they finally have picked up on the CM Punk Seth Rollins feud, and CM Punk won clean. I don't think this will be the end of it, but I don't really know where we're gonna go from here with that story because we saw after the match, CM Punk said, Gunther, Cody Rhodes, like, you're up next. And it would make sense with CM Punk beating Drew McIntyre, winning in War Games. You just beat Seth Rollins. If you're Gunther, I don't know who else is above CM Punk in the pecking order right now for a world title shot. I mean, maybe Jey Uso, but we're not going to get that, I don't think. So, I mean, CM Punk versus Gunther should be up next for the Royal Rumble or Elimination Chamber 1. The current rumor and innuendo is that CM Punk might be wrestling Roman Reigns at WrestleMania this year. And if they can't get The Rock in, that would make sense to me. So we'll see how that plays out. Next week on Raw, we're going to have Penta's debut in a women's intercontinental title match. So we'll see how that turns out. But on the whole, I would give Raw's Netflix debut a 6 out of 10. It was a fine show. I mean, the CM Punk Seth Rollins match, it was good. The Roman Reigns Solo Sikoa match, it was like nothing was like bad. I just didn't like The Rock's promo and what they did with The Rock on the show, and because that was what I was most looking forward to going into it, it left me disappointed. So on to college football. We've got the Cotton Bowl tomorrow with Texas versus Ohio State, and then we've got, or not tomorrow, the Cotton Bowl is on Friday, and then the Orange Bowl is tomorrow with Notre Dame versus Penn State. So Penn State's ranked 6th, Notre Dame's ranked 7th. I am taking Penn State, and I'm taking Texas in the Cotton Bowl, and we'll see. I'm thinking Texas wins the national championship. Levi is taking Notre Dame over Penn State tomorrow, so we'll see. Notre Dame's currently the favorites, so that very well could come true. In the Texas game, though, Ohio State is heavily favored for some reason. But I don't know, and I think Notre Dame, they were very impressive against Georgia, particularly their rushing game. They outrushed Georgia 154 to 62 yards. So, and if that's turned up all the way to 10 tomorrow, like it was last week, then they very well could win. But I don't know. I just think that beating Georgia was the most impressive that we've seen Notre Dame all year. And I don't know if lightning can strike twice. Not that beating Penn State is the same as beating Georgia, but I feel like the Georgia win just, I don't know, could have taken a lot out of them. I mean, Penn State's been rolling through the playoffs too. They beat SMU by 28. They beat Boise State 31 to 14. So, and it'll be a good game, however it turns out. But I'm going with Penn State. Levi's going with Notre Dame. As for Texas, this is just pure SEC supremacy. And I really like Ohio State beat Oregon by 20. Incredibly impressive. Not going to undercut it. But I feel like Ohio State being favored at like they are, they're the like -5 favorites. That's just really disrespectful to Texas for me. Like they took Georgia to the limit in the SEC championship game, and that was the only team that's beat them all year. So I don't get why they're not now the favorites to win the national championship. I mean, they've done good in the playoffs. The Arizona State game was closer than I think anybody expected. They still won by a touchdown. They put a good whooping on Clemson. So ultimately, I think the SEC is the best conference in college football. I think Texas being the last SEC team standing makes them the best team left standing in these college football playoffs. We'll see if my SEC bias holds true or has any weight, but until I'm shown otherwise, I'm rocking with Texas, and for the first time ever, horns up. Yeah, that felt disgusting. Now, over on the NFL playoffs, you've got a couple of wild card matchups this weekend. And here are the playoff brackets in the AFC. We've got the Chargers against the Texans, the Steelers against the Ravens, and the Broncos against the Bills. So the winner of Chargers and Texans plays the Chiefs, and I'm taking the Chargers to win and then play the Chiefs, and that'll be interesting, but I'll get to that when it comes up. The Steelers and Ravens, I'm taking the Ravens. They split the regular season matchup. The Steelers won the first one 18 to 16, and then the Ravens pretty solidly won the next one. I don't know. It all depends on Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson has historically struggled very much in the postseason, but he did good last year, and that could mean that he's finally put his choking era behind him, or maybe that was a fluke and he'll go back to it this year. We'll see, but until I have any reason to doubt otherwise, I'll just assume that he was able to exercise some of his playoff demons last year, and he's all good to go. Broncos and Bills, that's pretty easy. I think the Bills are going to win. I mean, the Bills have been on the verge of breaking out for the last 5, 6 years now. Like, Josh Allen's not getting any younger, so if they were going to make a run, this would be the year to do it, especially with the Chiefs looking as hobbled as they are. But if we're going to see Chiefs and Bills, that would be the AFC Championship game. So the Chiefs, we'll get into the Chiefs later. But over in the NFC, the Vikings and the Rams play, and the winner of that will play the Lions. I'm going with the Vikings, even though the Rams did win 30-20 in their Week 7 matchup. The Commanders play the Bucks, and I'm gonna roll with the Bucks in that one. The Bucks won 37-20 the last time they played, and I really like Baker Mayfield. I thought the Bucks have been on a roll here lately, but you never know until they play. Being in DC though, it would, selfishly, it'd be nice for me if the Commanders won, just because I could actually go to the games and enjoy it and get to see some playoff football action. And then Eagles and Packers. Eagles should win that pretty straightforwardly, though I would love to see Jordan Love pull off a great first round upset for what I would believe be his first playoff win in his career. And I think Lions and Eagles is my take for what the NFC is going to come down to. And that'll be a really good game. I'm excited for it. I think the Lions will win it. I think the Lions are making the Super Bowl, which is something that I hope can come true, but Detroit fans are very jaded. I'm sure after last year, they had huge hopes for this team that didn't materialize. So fingers crossed for them that they have something they can root for. And for the Chiefs, what I was gonna say earlier is I've said it before, they fell off all season. They have a great record, 15-2, but their record is more impressive than their actual on the field performance. As it stands, they're set to play. I'm assuming that they're going to make it past the first round. I'll give them that. But if I don't know, this is they'll play, in my opinion, either the Ravens or the Bills in the AFC Championship game. If they play either one of them, it's going to be a tough one, and I don't think they're going to come out on top. 3 Super Bowls in a row is hard to do, and I don't know if it's going to be the Bills or the Ravens that knock off the Chiefs. If I'm putting my money on it, I would say the Bills, but I think either one at this moment right now, I would take them over the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are looking to be the first NFL team to three-peat since the 1965 to 1967 Green Bay Packers. And in that three-peat, that was actually before the Super Bowl era for the first one. The Packers won one NFL championship and then the first 2 Super Bowls. And that Packers team, there were 11 Hall of Famers playing for the Packers in some period in those 3 years, counting Vince Lombardi, their coach. The only other team to three-peat was the 1929 to 1931 Packers. So if the Chiefs were able to three-peat here, they would be doing something truly historic. And I think at three-peat, Mahomes, I don't think it makes him the GOAT, but to me that would definitively make him the second greatest quarterback of all time. I'd have to sit down and really go into the stats and performances, etc., between him and Peyton Manning, on who's three. But I confidently have Joe Montana above Mahomes right now. A three-peat would have to make Andy Reid a top 5 coach of all time. I would think. I mean, that would put him at 4 rings. Off the top of my head, Bill Belichick, Vince Lombardi. Like, I couldn't think of another coach off the top of my head that's better than that. Bill Parcells, I'm sure would have some fans, but and Travis Kelsey, he's already thought by most people to be the greatest tight end of all time, being a huge contributor to a three-peat that would pretty much sew that up for him if there's any doubters out there and make it that much harder for somebody to top him. So I think the Chiefs would benefit hugely from a three-peat, but I just think they're tired and beaten down and won't be able to do it. So that being said, that's my thoughts on what's going on in the sports world right now. Levi, his Super Bowl prediction is that the Chiefs will lose to the Lions in an overtime Super Bowl thriller, 35-28. And he also just texted me and got very specific about the college football national championship. He thinks Texas will beat Notre Dame 24-21, and also stated that Carson Beck's injury ruined UGA's championship hopes. So, Levi, you're a lot more optimistic on the Chiefs than I am. I mean, I'm not gonna say that I would be surprised if they made the Super Bowl, but I wouldn't pick it. So we'll see how that prediction shakes out. But if they do win the AFC Championship, I'm predicting they're gonna scrape by. And if they do just scrape by, then I'm with you. They're getting gutted in the Super Bowl. But with that being said, that's all I've got this week. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see you next time.